I can't even see this thing. I'm gonna get my glasses here. I can't tell what these numbers are. Starting with verse 8, basically what this part is on down to verse, I think, 28, 27, 28. Basically, all this is the list of people that came from Canaan to Egypt. That's the list of all of Jacob's family. The thing about it is, look at how few actually went to Egypt. Anybody remember how many wound up going in the family? 70. 70 family members took that trip from Canaan to Egypt. And when they left 400 years later, there was, well, as the Bible puts it, it was God says that He would make them as numerous as the stars in heaven. One thing I read said there was over 600,000 men when they left, and that's not counting women and children, and I don't know how they counted, but that's what one place I read said there were 600,000 men that left Egypt in Exodus. So 70 people started out. 70 people went from Canaan to Egypt, and then when they left, had been more than 1 million with women and children. I mean, I don't know how many it was, but it had to be it was a whole lot more than 70, that's for sure. So you can see how they multiplied. And God's grace is going, or God's plan is going on through again, that He was going to make them a great nation. I'm not going to read all the names that went through there, because most of them I couldn't pronounce anyway. But this is not a genealogy. It's basically just a list of names, list of the family members that went into Egypt. And I mean, the only thing really probably significant would be his sons and their names, because they're going to play a great part in the history as they come along. In verse 28, it says, all the persons belonged to Jacob who came into Egypt, who were his own descendants, not including Jacob's sons, wives, and were 66 persons in all. And the sons of Joseph, who were born to him in Egypt, were 2. All the persons of the house of Jacob who came to Egypt were 70. So, I jumped down to 28. I didn't go through all those names. 46. $46, 46, 28. That was 26 I just read, 26 and 27. Now we're going into 28 now. In these verses, verse 28, and he had sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to show the way before him in Goshen, and they came into the land of Goshen. Why is that significant? I mean, does that bring back any kind of thought as to why? I'm not saying it's why Judah was sent, but you remember back when Joseph was sold into slavery?
Judah's the one who thought about selling him into slavery.
Exactly. Judah was the one it was his idea. They wanted to kill him, and Judah said, "No, let's don't kill him. Let's don't, spill his blood. Let's, he sees this caravan, said, let's sell him." So that's what they did, and it's Judah's idea. And now, a good while, can you imagine that reunion? Can you really imagine that? I mean, Joseph, Joseph, obviously he knew his family was still alive even before his brothers came, or they should be. But, he was basically a slave there. He couldn't leave at that time. And on the other side, there's Jacob. As far as he was concerned, Joseph was dead. And can you imagine after all these years, meeting and seeing his son whom he thought was dead, and Joseph seeing his father whom he hadn't seen in all these years, that's really a touching scene if you think about it. It really is. I mean, I know how, y'all know I got a son overseas, and we don't see him very often. Obviously, it's kind of a hard thing to get over there. But we went over there in 18, I think, 18 or 19 when they got married, and they've been home a couple of times over the last 3 or 4 years. And it's really good to see them when they come home. And I mean, we hug, and it's a great thing. And I know how we feel when they come home. And they're coming home Christmas, by the way. And they're bringing 2 cute little girls with them. I don't know if they're going back. The 2 little girls, that is. But no, they're going to be home Christmas if nothing happens. They got their tickets. They called their night, said they were able to get their tickets. So they're going to be home. I think it said December the 19th, I believe it said. So Carol's got a lot of work to do. So no, I think Carol's made a list for me to do. That's what it is. Okay, but they are coming home. But it's any family members. If you haven't seen, even if you hadn't even seen them in a month or 2 or 3 or 4, I mean, you go see them, and it's great to see them. You hug them, but can you imagine the father and son that hadn't seen each other in all these 22 years? I think. Well, anyway, I can't remember. But hadn't seen them that amount of time, and can you imagine the emotion? And it's something about that. It's really a touching scene. Israel said to Joseph, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face and know that you are still alive." Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, "I will go up and tell Pharaoh, and will say to him, my brothers and my father's household who were in the land of Canaan have come to me." Now, Pharaoh already knows this because he's, Joseph was happy about it, and the whole area knew all about it when he revealed himself to his brothers. So, and Pharaoh's already sent wagons and so forth to them to help them get there, so they know about it. But he said, "I will go up and tell Pharaoh, and say to him, my brothers and my father's household who were in the land of Canaan have come to me, and the men are shepherds, for they have keepers of livestock, and they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. When Pharaoh calls you and says, what is your occupation? You shall say, your servants have been keepers of livestock from our youth and even until now, both of our fathers, in order that you may dwell in the land of Goshen, and for every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians." Now, I didn't really understand that part, because I know in reading some other things that Pharaoh did have herds, I tried to find something. Anybody got any ideas on that? Why he would say that they were abomination to?
Could it be because the sheep could eat the grass down so low?
Well, I mean, there could be, but I mean, I don't know, I don't know what kind of herds that Pharaoh had.
It was a caste system. You had Pharaoh and the royal family, and then it went down from there, and the shepherds are at the lowest end. And the shepherds that worked for Pharaoh may not have been Egyptians. They may have been, hired help from some other nation.
Yep.
Or they might have just been the lowest of the low.
that's basically the school of thought that I read. You know, it's uh, uh, here's what I found on it. It says this has puzzled scholars because there exists nothing in the Egyptian literature that expresses such disdain. And Pharaoh later entrusted his flocks to the care of Joseph's brothers. Uh, what unpleasantness could Joseph have been attempting to avoid when he coached his brothers for their audience with Pharaoh? Perhaps Joseph meant the Egyptians despised foreign shepherds, and it is known that in that period, during this period, strained relations existed between Egyptians and the ethnic group known as the Hyksos, who were from the same region. So, I mean, you know, that's just something that that's. Yeah, right.
They didn't spread out
No,
along the Nile
no, they didn't. They didn't spread out at all.
to keep, I mean, they still ended up worshiping other gods, because when they talk about them going to the promised land, more than once, they had to get the idols out of their tents, because they had these little idols that
Right,
they worshiped.
right,
But that would have at least kept the Jews together. They wouldn't have intermarried as
right.
much. And they got into a lot of trouble when they got to the promised land because they intermarried.
Because they were married, right? Absolutely.
Oh, this, one thought I had was, you know, Joseph is telling his brothers to say this, you shall say. And it's
went along. But, of course, as we said before, after a few generations, there was somebody came along that didn't know all about the story or didn't care. And, you know, they could see how the Israelites were becoming greater. I mean, they were multiplying and they were getting stronger and they were getting greater. And they said, wait a minute, you know what? They're going to take us over if we don't do something. So that's basically how they became slaves, and just in a nutshell.
Well, how is it good? I'm just sitting here talking, and, I've read this story so many times, but it just sometimes I'm thinking, Joseph collected all the brains and stuff from everybody.
Yeah.
So how come they're having to pay for their stuff? I mean, it's like,
Good question. I mean, yeah, it was all. I mean, but it's, they gathered it from everybody and put it in a central location. From what I can under. Yeah, yeah, that's what. But when the brothers came, they paid. They brought money to pay for it. I mean, they had to pay for what they were getting. They wouldn't give it to them, and it wasn't just for them. It was. I mean, from what I understand, the Egyptians were having to pay for theirs too.
you also have the laws of supply.
Yeah.
Those 7 good years, that grain and price of grain went down.
Mm-hmm.